Viva cocktail and tangerine.
Celebrate every moment with Piva Drink. Refreshment for every occasion. Piva Drink, a taste you will love.
P for Piva.
This advert is FDA approved.
My guest on Face to Face is Member of Parliament for Abra Asebu Kwamankesi, first-time MP and Minister of State in charge of Government Communication, Honorable Felix Kwakye Ofosu. You're welcome to Face to Face.
Thank you, Mario.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Which one are you doing more, Parliament or executive? Which one?
Well, at the moment, Parliament is on recess, so I'm doing executive full-time.
As a first-time MP, they will mafia you. You have
no,
to
I still make time. As you've seen, I've been
I've seen you.
You've seen me debate.
Yeah.
On a number of occasions. I participated fully in the budget approval processes.
How are you warming
both
up?
As a member of the executive and both as an MP.
How are you warming up into your parliamentary job?
Oh, I think that I'm doing fine. I'm trying to strike a fine balance between my duties as a member of the executive and a member of the legislature. Mind you, there's also the constituency itself to deal with. So I also make an effort to be present in the constituency as much as I can.
Your chief government spokesperson, that's also a huge one. There are so many departments, ministries, agencies. Is it the case that you're supposed to coordinate all their communication, or you are just in charge of Jubilee House communication? What's the role?
No, I'm in charge of both. I'm in charge of the communication at the presidency and then government communication. That's why there's that designation of Minister of State Government Communication. So I coordinate all of government.
But it's not Minister for Information.
No,
How
no,
different?
No. Well, maybe it's a matter of nomenclature. You can say that I'm the information minister. But I don't have,
not the official portfolio.
Yes, I do not have a ministry,
okay,
as it were.
Okay.
I have agencies that are answerable to me, and I report on the activities to Parliament as the law requires. But I'm Minister of State Government Communications and Presidential Spokesperson.
So places like NMC, for instance, come under your purview?
No, NMC is an independent
who
body.
sends their budget to Parliament, that kind
no,
of thing?
it doesn't come. I think it falls under General Government Operations.
Okay,
if I'm not mistaken, yes.
But ISD would be under
ISD, the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation,
okay,
and the Ghana News Agency.
Okay.
There's also Graphic Communication Groups. There's a New Times Corporation and Ghana Publishing. But because they are state-owned enterprises, in other words, they are profit-making organizations, they fall under SIGA. Okay. But for reporting purposes, they come through.
So you started off on a very major one, this issue of the air ambulance, cargo. Your colleague MP for Asin South, when he first made the statement he made, what was your reaction like? Well, it appears that he's saying you misspoke. You said a number of things earlier, and then you've now come to do a U-turn. For instance, you said the flight was from Luanda. The tracking that we have seen from Fact Check Ghana, for instance, suggests that no, at no point did the flight come through from Luanda. So there's a view that you miscalculated your communication and ended up in a faux pas.
It's important that we don't nitpick. You see, let us go back to the basics. Where did this thing start from? On 1st April, in Team Fordro held a press conference and specifically alleged that there were 2 aircraft that had come to Ghana that were transporting drugs and money illegally. He named them as Flight Kavok 12BK and NA3A, I believe, which transporting drugs and money illegally. He named them as Flight Kavok 12BK and NA3A, I believe, which futable proof that nothing untoward happened. Futable proof that nothing untoward happened on those 2 aircrafts. I suspect that what may have happened is that somebody at the airport may have called in Team Fordro, perhaps an MPP fanatic, called in Team Fordro and told him that there were some 2 aircraft, I beg your pardon, on the tarmac, and that they were suspicious. And he also went to town. He didn't do any checks, nothing. So I did a 7-minute video in which I summarized the findings that had come up after the agencies had looked into the matter. Mind you, the airport is also a security area. And so there is a multiplicity of state agencies who operate and whose work come together to ensure the smooth running of the airport. National security is present there. The National Intelligence Bureau is present there. Aviation security. In other words, the airport itself has a security arrangement. There's NACOC, whose primary duty it is to combat drug trafficking. They are there. And the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority is there. And the airport company itself is also there. All of these people had done their job as they should to ensure that there was nothing untoward about these aircrafts. And so, to the extent that he has failed to provide any evidence, he clearly is wasting everybody's time. President Obama has called for investigations into the matter. But Umaru, you and I know that if Intim Fojo had evidence, he won't wait for anybody to call on him to make it available. The National Intelligence Bureau made efforts to get him to cooperate with them in this investigation. He threw the minority leader, and indeed the minority leader will confirm this. The minority leader got back and said that Intim Fojo was speaking on behalf of a committee and therefore was not airing his own views, and so could not come. Subsequent to that, the NIB wrote to the speaker last week Thursday to release Intim Fojo. The speaker is here to come back to the NIB on it, as far as I know. And anytime that the speaker responds to it, he will be available for questioning. I have requested that his interrogation or the questions that they pose to him should be recorded and released to the public. So that
his private interrogation.
It is not
private.
It's an investigation, is it not? So for purposes of public interest and transparency, they can show it.
Does that happen? Is that?
Oh yes, it's not the first. I recall that Rollins was interrogated once by the DMBNI, and the footage was put out.
That was like 100 years ago.
Yes, but clearly, if it serves the purpose, why not? The point I'm
Which
making,
means that you are very confident that...
Absolutely, because you see, Umaru, I've had opportunity to look at the evidence and the facts. Against...
He says that if you think you are buried in evidence, he's going to splash in your face.
First of all, he has no evidence. That's the truth of the matter. And I think everybody, you see, we need to separate party fanatics who will hail anything in Intim Fojo says from reasonably minded people. You are a level-headed person. And there are reasonable people out there. When somebody comes to make an allegation and does not back it with facts, do you continue to entertain him?
What if he says he's holding back? He says he's holding back and at the right time...
First of all, he's holding nothing. That is the position that we need to address. He is holding nothing. Based on the evidence that is available on record, the activities of these planes are documented. You see, you can't just fly a plane into a country and carry out any activity and leave. It doesn't happen in any serious country. And Ghana is a serious country. The Airport Company Limited has existed for decades. They have proper procedures that every aircraft follows. These two aircraft were subject to every security check that must be done. Nothing untoward was found. Umaru, in my video, and I urge you to play it to viewers so that they hear exactly what I said. I noticed that after Intim Fojo was roundly ridiculed on Saturday, after he failed to adduce any proper evidence and produce that incoherent rambling on Newsfile, he's produced a subsequent 24-minute video, which
Yes, on Good Evening Ghana.
Again, fails to show any evidence that the aircraft indeed carried drugs or was laundering money. He says that there were inconsistencies in my account. First of all, so I'm coming to address the inconsistencies. First of all, he says that...
He went to Twitter this morning, and he says, the mighty minority has been vindicated at last in the suspicious Gran Canaria flights to Ghana. Government spokesperson and Minister of State Felix Kwakye Ofosu must resign for willfully publishing false evidence to cover crimes. And he is quoting factcheckghana.com, which has made a number of observations and findings, which findings found your statement inconsistent. And I'm going to read the part that is relevant to you. They say that you claimed that Ahmed N823AM went through Luanda in Angola before arriving in Accra. That is not accurate. That did not happen. And you also said that Ahmed N864AM, which allegedly was sent to aid in repairs, only came to Ghana once, when it was actually twice that it came to Ghana.
There's nowhere in my 7-minute video that I said the aircraft that brought the parts and the crew, repair crew, came to Ghana once. Where in that 7-minute video did I say it? And indeed, you can play it to your viewers. And I request that as part of airing this program, you play it so that Intim Fojo shows me where I said that the aircraft came to Ghana once. I never said so. I said when the Ahmed aircraft developed a problem with its tire and landing gear upon landing. I've heard some people say that I've said the aircraft developed a fault in mid-air. That is very ignorant, you understand me? It is mischievous, completely tangential. The aircraft landed safely, and then noticed that there was a problem with this tire. I have put out pictures, and those pictures are absolutely 100% authentic.
The question is, how come you had pictures of
But first of all,
repair works?
but these days, people
say
Umaru,
that actually makes it more suspicious.
how is it suspicious?
Like,
Umaru,
why do you have pictures
Umaru,
of that?
You are here recording me officially. I've seen your crew whip up their phones and take pictures of me. People do it all the time. In what way does it raise suspicion if people are fixing a tire? It is a matter of record. Indeed, there is evidence of this being done. And when the investigation is conducted and Team Kojo is holding, the airport company can produce evidence of this. I have put it out. The second point I need to stress is that nowhere did I see that when the second aircraft came, it left on 25th. I said the Air Med ambulance developed a fault with this tire. A second aircraft belonging to the same company brought tires and repair crew. And once the aircraft was fixed, it left on 25th. Which aircraft was fixed? Was it not the initial one that came? And so if it is fixed, won't it leave? Instead of what you say that because I have said it, I have said that the second aircraft stayed until 25th. And so I have lied. In any event, how does that even prove that there was drugs on the plane? Which is the substance of the matter. Secondly, he says that, in fact, even the first Havoc flight, 12 BK, never came to Ghana because he has gone to check on flight where. Has he not said so? Now, you recall that it was in Team Fojo who, on the 1st of April, first told Ghanaians that Havoc flight 12 BK had arrived in Ghana. Play that press conference. So he told everybody that the flight arrived in Ghana. Yet he says that a few days later, when he went to check on flight away, the flight never came to Ghana. So the flight never came. Umaru, let me show you concrete evidence. You see, before any flight comes to Ghana, it seeks permission to land. When the flight gets to Ghana, it undergoes rigorous inspection. I have said that this flight was in Ghana for screening at the Swissport cargo facility.
In Accra.
In Accra. Umaru, I can show you the report generated after Swissport did the screening. RA3. In fact, this was based on a request that Havoc made through their local agent, Tropicana Ghana. They state clearly in their letter.
You are referencing the flight from
the Havoc flight.
Okay.
Tropicana Airlines, which is their local agent, on 11th March 2025, wrote to the Ghana Revenue Authority, Customs Division, requesting that they wanted to use the Swissport NextScan machine to generate the reports on the oil equipment of chartered flights from Angola to Norway and then they state the flight number.
This is dated when?
11th March 2025. And you see that it's minuted on to the appropriate officials.
Okay.
Duly signed and dated. They say this has become very necessary because the Angola scan machine cannot generate the R3 report, which is mandatory in Norway. I said this and people say, oh, it's not true, and that there's a scan in Angola, so it is not true that they came to do the scan. Meanwhile, Swissport has done the thing, generated the receipt, generated the report. Again, this flight was carrying oil equipment belonging to Schlumberger.
So two flights. So
yes, 2 flights.
This one for the Ukrainian one.
If you let me land, yes. The oil equipment belonged to Schlumberger. It was an oil drill equipment, together with oil in jerrycans, which are lubricants, actually. There is an airway bill that covers this shipment. And clearly it is stated in the report, the destination and the equipment. When the aircraft got here and broke down, they had a problem with their engine blade. They also had oil leakage. They imported replacement parts, an oil cooler from Slovakia, which they brought in. They paid taxes to GRA in order that they are able to clear it. Indeed,
how much taxes?
I think it's around 13,000 or so. It's in there. Yeah, 13,564 Ghana cedis.
So the Ghana Revenue Authority.
So your revenue authority has collected taxes on equipment imported to replace broken down equipment. And you are saying that the aircraft never came.
This for the cargo flight.
This for the cargo flight.
Okay. So
and then if you let me land. So they did this. Umaru, whilst that flight was here, they had to refuel The receipt of the fuel that they bought is contained here. And yet, until Infojua says he has gone to flight where, and he says the flight never came. So when they bought the fuel, which flight did they put it in?
So we're discussing two flights. I
So
just
we are
want
discussing two
us
flights.
to get
Yes,
separate.
so, exactly.
One is a cargo flight, the
Absolutely.
Ukrainian one. So
Absolutely.
he brought drilling machines, equipment.
But you see, the reason why that is important is that until Infojua says that this aircraft was here to traffic drugs
Yes.
and launder money.
Yes.
I put out footage of the inspection of the cargo. Of course, it is the case that when they are doing these inspections, they don't normally film them. But these days, as I have told you, people whip up phones and film things. Now, it has become fortuitous because it allows us to see that indeed there were inspections. In fact, there were 2 inspections. The one I showed you in the video and the one they did when the flight came in. Indeed, beyond that, they even tested the oil. And there's evidence of it. There's a Ghana Standards Authority report here showing that this was oil and that there was nothing contraband about it.
So they discharged everything they came to discharge
because
here.
you see, the plane could not move. For 13 days, it was grounded because it was having oil leakage and an engine blade fault. So they brought in a replacement aircraft to ferry the items because Schlumberger needed the items in Norway.
So that is the cargo
Absolutely.
flight. Then the air med part.
The air med too.
So let me just summarize for. And again, let me say that your video, we've played it variously on our platforms.
Absolutely.
And it is up there on our social media platform for anyone who wants to see.
Exactly.
Because you reference that we should play it.
Yes.
We may not be able to play it on this program.
Yes.
But people can see it. But people can see it on our social media platforms.
He has intentional, again, they took the video and then he placed his own claims on the video and sought to answer them. For instance, this bit about the flight having never come to Ghana is his claim. Forget about the fact that he himself was the very first person to tell the whole world that this flight came to Ghana. Now he says that when he went to check on a flight where the flight never came. Meanwhile, the flight came. It is, you see, the place, again, regarding the fact check and nothing, the place where you go for information on the presence of an aircraft is the airport where it landed. If you go into a flight software system and you don't see, it doesn't mean the plane was never here.
There you go.
So have they taken the time to ask the relevant authorities, GCA, Ghana Airport Company, whether the flight was there? In any event, there's physical evidence of the flight. In fact, I can also show you evidence of an application by the local agents of this aircraft to the Ghana Airport Company to allow them to tow the aircraft to the spaceport facility in order that it will be refurbished. So how does anybody say that this flight never came to Ghana?
So that flight came here,
yes. It came on the 12th
so it
of
brought
March. Yes.
items for, is it mining or drilling company?
It's an oil drilling company. It's an oil company, yes.
It stayed for 13 days,
13
had
days.
a blade problem, and it's been fixed,
It's left.
Okay.
Until what says the aircraft is still in Ghana, which is not true.
Now, when it comes to the AirMed,
yes,
that one, what's the story about how it came to our country?
There's an aircraft belonging to an organization that runs an air ambulance. Until what says because it came here and there was no patient or dead body in it, there was something suspicious about it. Umaru. So because it's an air ambulance, anytime it flies, there must be a dead body or there must be a patient in it. And if there's no such thing, it means that it is carrying drugs. You see, the logic is bizarre.
Why did it come to Ghana?
It came for refueling. Because
from where?
It came from Gran Canaria. In fact, I will show you the permission granted it to land by the GCA. It is stated right here. They were doing a multi-country flight. Their final destination would have been South Africa, through Luanda. But when they got to Ghana for refueling and crew rest, once they landed, upon inspection, they noticed that there was a problem with their tire. And the picture, again, let me stress, the picture I put out is 100% accurate. There are people saying that even the sky does not look like Ghana. People are even saying that, oh, that AirMed ambulance does not look the same as the Kabok. So, you see, so there's a lot of falsehood and ignorance and deliberate distortion, all intended to mask the fact that Intim Fojo has not been able to provide a shred of evidence. He says that, the people could not have brought replacement tires.
No, so the story, you haven't, so it landed for refueling.
Refueling
they
and
observed an issue with the tire.
Exactly.
And now, it took them how many days to get?
Now, again, so they arrived on 20th March.
Yes.
When they noticed the fault, by 22nd March, a second aircraft had come in from Luanda with tires and a repair crew.
So it's a second aircraft that came from Luanda?
That came from Luanda
Because fact check says there was no proof that the aircraft came
but
from
you see,
Rwanda.
again, that is nitpicking. I said in the video that it came from San Maria
Yes.
through Rwanda. And then it got to Ghana for crew because it was
But they say it never went through
But I'm
Rwanda.
saying that what is the material relevance of that to the claim that Intim Fodjo is making?
So they're punching holes in
No,
the
first
fact that
of all, what hole are you punching? Somebody says that there were drugs on the aircraft. He has not been able to show you any evidence. And you are saying that there is a hole in the fact that the aircraft passed through a certain place. And so because of that, there was drugs or there were drugs.
No, that becomes suspicious.
How does it become, again,
the story is not whole.
First of all, Maru, first of all, how does the presence of an air ambulance generate suspicion? What is the basis for the suspicion? Is it the first time that an air ambulance has come to Ghana? They even say that there was power outage at the airport.
Yes.
Umaru, in your journalistic life, is it the first time you've heard of a power outage at the airport?
So many times.
Will it be the last time in our history
But
that it happens?
this was very convenient.
How is it convenient? So anytime there was a power outage...
And it lasted for 30 minutes or so.
No, anytime there was a power outage under the Akufo-Addo administration at the airport, were they laundering money and carrying drugs? Where is the logic in this? How can we allow such a story to dominate the headlines for this while simply because of this illogical, inconsistent rambling by somebody who is not providing the shred, so that even when hard evidence is presented, he says, now, look, he says that, even the tars that were brought could not have been brought because there's no cargo compartment on the plane. Which begs the question, so that the crew that operates on that aircraft, their luggage, where do they put it? And these are tars and, boxes containing some accessories, I believe, and 2 boxes that can fit into a saloon car. How much more a plane? So how does this become the reason why anybody says that there are drugs on the plane and that there was money laundering? So you see, and indeed, I watched Godfrey Akotobu Afustik. I take the criticism about our own approach. Of course, we live to learn every day. And I think that is feedback that we can use. But I think he makes the most telling analysis of Intim Fodjo's behavior, which I think you in the media should be making. You see, people cannot get up and say what they want. When they are pressed for information and they go scouting and say that somebody has said this, it doesn't add up, so what I'm saying is true. When he himself has failed.
He said he should resign.
For what reason? He who has abused parliamentary privilege. And I'm putting it on record that if he says there were drugs on the plane and there was money laundering, he is peddling falsehood in the face of irrefutable documentary evidence that is not true. So because the aircraft has been checked. What inspection has he conducted?
He said the evidence will be... So you're saying that there's no way we're going to find drugs or money laundering?
Absolutely none, because those who are supposed to do this...
You put your ministry on...
I've said so. Look, Intim Fodjo, has he conducted any inspection on the aircraft? On what basis is they saying there was drugs? How did he come to the determination that there were drugs? Who did the inspection to detect drugs?
Now,
Omar, I'm asking you, in Ghana, when a plane lands, who does the inspection?
So many agencies.
And I've shown you proof that the agencies have done the inspection, right? They have told that they didn't find anything untoward. Where is Intim Fodjo's inspection report, which shows that there were drugs?
He's connecting it to the other drug raid that you made, or the government made, somewhere on the Amasaman Road. And he said, because you have not brought any evidence since then, it shows that there's something fishy.
It is the clearest indication yet that, again, he's peddling falsehood. You see, so this government has made 3 drug busts in the last 3 months. So because of that, if there are planes that have come into Ghana... I beg your pardon. If there are planes that have come to Ghana between 12 to 25th March, then they were carrying drugs because 3 unrelated drug busts have been made. Umar, I will give you a document that shows about 10 to 11 drug busts under the MPP. It's Intim Fodjo suggesting that because that happened, he and his colleagues in the MPP were peddling drugs and laundering money. You see, it is astonishing in its defiance of logic, the kinds of things that Intim Fodjo is saying.
You see, what he has done,
listen, what he has done is that he is demonstrating a certain desperation on the part of the MPP to monger scandal and at all costs find something to use as a scandal on the Mahama administration, because there's none that has happened. So the government of the day maintains vigilance and ensures that people who are dealing in drugs are arrested and investigation processes started with the ultimate objective of prosecuting them if evidence indeed is found that they are responsible for drug trafficking. Because a government does this, we have become a cocaine coast. And because of this also, if drugs are seized in Amasaman and 2 planes land in Ghana, they break down and are repaired, it means that they have trafficked drug. Umaru, you are a very reasonable person. You tell me how these two are connected and what evidence there even exists to strike a nexus between these two
He
stories.
says it's a matter of time. He'll produce that.
What time? Umar, I'm telling you that, look,
Yes.
for about 1 to 2 weeks, he's roamed from radio station to radio station, TV station. He was on your TV show last week. You believe that if he had any concrete evidence, he wouldn't have put it out by now. What is the evidence that he showed on Adomochi's show? 24 minutes to say that I have said the plane came and it didn't come. And then he attributes things to me that I have not said. That is all that he was able to do for 24 minutes when the whole world was watching. I have shown you documents. Okay? I have given you pictures. I have given you videos. What has he brought to the table?
Let me take a break. This is Face to Face on Channel 1 Television. My guest is Minister of State in charge of Government Communication, Honorable Felix Kwakye Ofosu. So we've touched a lot on the allegation that has been made by Honorable Reverend Tim Fojo. And let me say that I've interviewed him at least 3 times since this issue started. And he has said to me consistently he has evidence to prove his claim, and is also asking for collaboration to happen. And he's saying that at the right time he'll provide that information. So let me just put that on record. When we come back, Honorable Felix Kwakye Ofosu's ministry, the budget he's been given has been a subject of controversy. We've talked about that. And the government generally, how is it shaping up? I'll talk to him about that as well. Please stay with us.
Curious about what's happening beyond your borders? Beyond Borders takes you there. Every Wednesday at 7 p.m., join Caleb Kuda as he explores the stories that shape our world, connecting you with Ghanaians in other cultures and seeing the world through their eyes.
So if you learn one thing, you leave your shoes outside. Wow.
Tuesday, you know, I won't go to Ghana dressed in a Lacoste.
As director of operations.
From international politics to the human stories that define nations, Beyond Borders brings you a fresh perspective of Ghanaians around the world, one conversation at a time. Beyond Borders with Caleb Kuda airs Wednesdays at 7 p.m. only on Channel 1 TV.
You're welcome back. This Face to Face on Channel 1 TV. My guest, Chief Government Spokesperson, Minister of State in charge of Government Communication. Honorable Felix Kwakye Ofosu, where is our Vice President and how is she?
Oh, she's currently in good health and taking a short rest as advised by her doctors. And in short order, she should be back to her duties.
So where is she? Which country?
She's in the United Kingdom as I speak.
Your government or party has been attacking the previous administration for seeking medical help abroad. You said you built so many hospitals when you were in power, UGMC and all of that, and you were mocking them for taking rest there and then they should not go abroad. Why is our Vice President going to seek medical help abroad?
You recall that in the statement I put out regarding her medical condition, I said that she had been to the University of Ghana Medical Center, which far and away is about our most advanced medical facility. So she went there to seek medical care, I beg your pardon. The doctors examined her and determined that they think that there's something beyond their capacity, so she should seek help from elsewhere. I think that it is in order. It is not the case that she just jetted off to go abroad. She did whatever she could here. And
but people were doing that in the past. You said it was wrong. Why is it right
first of
now?
all, the principle that we need to invest in healthcare is well noted. And indeed, what is the record of the NDC government? We built the most advanced medical facility in Ghana. It is a place where you go to if everything else fails. So if you go there, and the doctors tell you that, look, we've done what we can, but we believe that you should seek attention elsewhere. I don't think that that in itself is an indictment. But of course, we take the point that we need to do far more to enhance the capacity of our healthcare delivery system and ensure that we get the very, very best that you can get anywhere in the world. And it's something that we remain committed
There
to.
were social media reports and claims that she had passed on.
Of course, you know that it is very typical of the NPP. It's something that they did to President Mills. And they won't stop. So I don't think that we pay much attention to it.
So she's fine.
Absolutely.
When will she be back?
Absolutely. The doctors recommend a few weeks break. And I'm sure as and when she's ready to be back, it will be made known. When she arrives, everybody will see her. So it's not something that can be hidden.
Okay. Let's talk about your ministry, so your office. Earlier I asked you what you're supposed to do. You mentioned to me the agencies under you, generally what you do,
Sure.
coordinating government communication. The budget that was given to your office is too huge.
Again, you see, and it's the reason why in Tim Fojo's falsehoods must be dismissed. You see, the MPP specializes in spreading falsehood. Even when you present incontrovertible evidence to them, they still maintain the falsehood. That is the same thing that Tim Fojo is doing. In fact, I recall that even in this discussion about the aircraft, he has still repeated the lie that my office has been given 78 million Ghana cedis. So, Mario, this is the appropriations bill passed by Parliament, of which Tim Fodo was a member.
Appropriation Act now.
Appropriation, yes, it's now Appropriation Act. But this was passed by Parliament, of which Tim Fodo was part. He was sitting there when the budget was passed.
Maybe he
took part in the deliberations. If you look at this bill, you see that the agencies under my supervision that are catered for in this budget, the Information Services Department, the Ghana News Agency, and the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation have been allocated monies. So you see their goods and services. The Information Services Department was given 4.3 million basically for goods and services, and 57 million for salaries and wages compensation. Then the GNA was given 4.29 million. If you add the two together, the goods and services is around 8 million or so.
For GNA?
For GNA. And yet, in Team for Joy and his MPP are able to say that this money was given to my office, when the Appropriations Bill, now Act, clearly captures this. Look, these are the documents that...
Is it not focusing on the total?
No, I'm coming. Yes, I will deal with it. You see, these are the documents that the agencies presented before the Parliament's Committee on Communication and Information. So this is ISD. They state their budget. They capture everything. This is that of the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. This is the that of the GNA. They all capture it. So they were given a total of 78 million Ghana cedis. 8 million for goods and services and 70 million. Let me tell you something. Before the MVP left office, they signed a contract with an entity called Renault Motors to import 40, what do you call it, outside broadcast, no, not outside broadcast, 40 cinema vans, modern ones.
For ISD?
For ISD. You know that ISD does
the village video
public
centers
broadcast and all that, yes. The 40 vans cost a total of 70 million Ghana cedis, plus duties of 8 million, I believe, so 78 million Ghana cedis. And yet, the three agencies under my supervision have been given 70 million in capex and 8 million in goods and services. So you know that even if we clear the vans and pay it in full, all the money vanishes. So which money has been allocated to my office for use, Umaru? Yet, there were MPP members on the Communication Information Committee who examined these figures and approved it, generated the report, which fed into the Appropriations Act, which we all passed in Parliament before we went on recess. And yet, the MPP are able to say that my office, as in this office we are sitting, has been given 78 million. When the facts show clearly, let me give you another example. Why, when the MPP speaks, you need to tarry and not be given in by their pension for falsehood. If you look at the budget again, there was a line item called Research Department, where they were given 50 million Ghana cedis for goods and services.
More than you were giving the Women Bank.
Umaru, the MPP went to Parliament in 2020 and passed the Security Services and Intelligence Act. Section 12 of that act designates the National Intelligence Bureau as the internal security agency or internal intelligence gathering agency, and the Research Department as the external intelligence agency. This bill was taken to Parliament by the MPP, and it was passed when the MPP was in the majority. Yet, people who were sitting in Parliament and passed that bill and were ministers, when they saw Research Department, 50 million, were able to say that that money has been given to Flagstaff to do research. When you yourself have gone to designate a state agency as the external intelligence agency, and therefore budgetary allocation has been made to them, you know it for a fact. You took the bill to Parliament. You gave it that additional designation. You passed the bill. It became law. You were the majority side that actually passed it, with the help of the minority, of course. You clearly know what the Research Department is.
So the 50 million is not for your research, it's for national security.
It is for the External Intelligence Agency of Ghana. They are called the Research Department, or RD for short. The MPP knows this. They were the ones who took the...
It's not a Jubilee House.
It is not a Jubilee House. Look, they were the ones who took the bill to Parliament. Wait, there is no Research Department at the Jubilee House. Unlike the past when they had Victor Newman and that professor, MPP professor from Legon, who formed a research unit here to do research for them. We don't have anything like that. But the research department in the budget refers to the ALDI, external intelligence. The NPP knows this, and yet it was possible. If Tim Fodjo, who actually is a member of the Defense and Intelligence Committee and knows what the research department is able to go out and see that we've been given 50 million to do research at the Flagstaff House. So you see, that's why when I speak about the NPP line, some have said, oh, but even in this aircraft matter, why am I speaking? Why is the airport company not speaking? Umaru, the AirMed company have issued a statement clarifying that they were here for this purpose, for refueling, and that they carried out maintenance. The NPP says no, they won't accept it. In Tim Fodjo, after spreading the falsehood at his press conferences, has moved from radio station to radio station to repeat the falsehood. And they are saying that as the person responsible for government communication, I should sit down and allow this falsehood to fester up until the time that the investigations are conducted. In the face of such vicious lies, even when evidence exists to the contrary, how does anybody expect that I'll fold my hands and allow this to happen?
So the 78 million you say is for the agencies under you?
Yes, I've showed you the
breakdown. But how much specifically is going to your office?
Then nothing is, because see, I don't have a ministry. In the past, the NPP had an information ministry, which had a minister and a deputy, and 76 other directors and employees. So they needed to be budgeted for. In fact, in the last budget, they got 262 million Ghana cedis in the 2024 budget. I'm not saying that it was a bloated figure. I suspect that it was even not sufficient. That's why they could not even pay for the vans that they imported.
But you had information before.
Absolutely. But it was for a ministry. That ministry doesn't exist. So you don't need a budgetary allocation. You came to this office. This is my office.
So who takes care of them?
This is my office. The small office adjoining this one is where my administrative staff work. That is all. Do we need 70 million Ghana cedis as we see this office? Do we need 8 million?
Maybe you take it home.
For what? I'm paid a salary at the end of the month.
Okay, so what do you use to, what's the operational budget?
Now,
what's the operational budget
there's no operational budget because it is the agencies that need money. You understand the point I'm making? The small stationery and items I need are taken care of by the Office of the Chief of Staff, as it does for all the offices here.
How are ministers of state, not ministers of ministries, how are ministers
First
of state budgeted?
They get their salaries and their emoluments. As it is stated in your
So you don't
admission
have a secretariat which is...
Listen, no, it is stated in your appointment letter, your conditions of service.
Yes.
So you get a salary, you get a car, they give you a bungalow, and then they spell out your conditions. That's what ministers of state get. If you have a ministry, the ministry is budgeted for. So your capital expenditure, your goods and services, which would include administrative costs and all that, is catered for. But I don't have a ministry, even though I superintend agents. So the agencies themselves, ISD, GNA, GBC, and the likes, have their budget to run, because apart from paying for their wages and salaries, which is called compensation, they need goods and services, which is what they use.
So the 78 million is for those people?
It's for those agencies. And indeed,
nothing comes to you directly as an office?
This is the budget. It is here. You've seen it, the appropriation bill. I've showed it to you. If I'm lying, say I'm lying. You've seen it. Your camera can zoom on it.
There used to be a physical place called Ministry of Information, which was until recently occupied by Fatih Abubakar.
Yes.
What about,
it is no longer there. So it is in fact, that building belongs to the Information Service Department. The ministry was, as we say in our parlance, perching.
You are perching.
So that ministry doesn't exist anymore.
So ISD continues to run there?
ISD has 1,309 or so staff.
Okay.
GBC has 1,115 staff.
Okay.
GNA has 133 staff.
Okay.
You understand me? All these people will be paid through the Controller and Accountant General Department at the end of the month. So a budget is drawn up to cater for their compensation. In addition, the staff there, they work. They need goods and services to do their work. So a budget is set aside for them. And then there's capital expenditure. For instance, I want to buy those vans, or they have to build offices, or they have to refurbish their offices, or they have to replace a vehicle, or what have you. So that is capital expenditure.
Okay.
If you put that together, it is 78 million for these three agencies. GBC generates internal revenue. Yeah. And so they generate it and then they keep it and use it for their expenditure.
Let me understand this. So again, layman, when Akufo-Addo was president, he had Eugene Ahin as director of communication.
Yes.
In fact, in the past, there was a director of communication here when NDC was in power. I'm trying to remember who was in charge at the time. Is that not a role you're playing? And if that's a role you're playing, there's government communication.
Yes.
There is a lot to take care of financially. So are you saying that there's no budget for that?
So
or where is that budget
when you get a budget, what?
Because your salary is different.
Listen.
But first of all, running the communication machinery of government.
First of all, what does government run? what is the government's communication machinery? So there's myself, and I've stated it publicly and in Parliament. There's
you have
myself.
a deputy who is not a minister.
Yes, she's the deputy presidential spokesperson. So there's Shamima, Muslim. There's Mamiama Pratt, who is the vice president's press secretary. So takes care of the communication of the vice president. So the three of us, plus 2 administrative staff and 2 other people, and you've seen them on the corridor as we came here, who help us to, in fact, some of the videos I do, they shoot, they are creatives. So 7 people. When the MPP was here, they had a total of 28 people running the presidency's communication machinery alone. And then at the Ministry of Information, they had a minister, a deputy, and 76 people. If you put it together, that is 106 people. We are doing the same thing with 7 people. So naturally, you will save money. So this is my office.
So these 7 people, how and where are they paid
Of course, but they are paid like everybody else.
So they are paid salaries.
They are paid salaries.
But who runs stationery, the logistics, and all of those things?
All the offices here.
Under chief of staff.
It falls under the chief of staff. There's a general.
Okay, for those who are watching, we are actually doing this interview from the Jubilee House.
Absolutely.
That's why he keeps saying.
So there's a general administration. There's a chief director. There's a whole civil service setup here.
By the way, when are you going to change the Jubilee House to Flagstaff House? The name.
Well, I mean, I'm not fussy on it. So for me, it's
another
really
question on the government.
So let me finish with this one. So that is it. So if I need stationery, I need the chief of staff office will take over. But it is minimal.
Very well.
You understand me? Okay. I don't need 8 million. So please, this program must be used to set that record straight.
Very well.
So when people come on your program and they say that, you must immediately correct them, especially MPP people who were part of the appropriations. Okay. So I think that from today, that is why it is necessary to respond to these lies when they come up. If you keep quiet thinking that people are naturally discerning and so they are going to appreciate what is happening, you may make a mistake and people will imbibe the falsehood, as in Team Ford was attempting to do with this aircraft matter.
The president said he was going to appoint 60 ministers.
Yes.
He has done 56.
Yes. 56.
Has he forgotten the last one?
No, he hasn't. He's still going
Please
to
remind him what's happening.
Oh, he's very conscious of that. He has said it on many occasions that he will do that soon. I convey the president's thoughts.
Yes.
To the people of
So
Ghana.
He's thinking about it. Is it that he's having difficulty
There's no difficulty. Well, he's choosing 56. 4 cannot be a problem. The point is that as and when he's ready to make the announcement, I'll be more than happy to convey it to everybody.
Another update. National Cathedral.
Yes.
What's the plan with it?
Well, I think the president was clear that we are not going to use public funds to continue that project.
But you would continue it as a national cathedral?
No. If I am very clear that we don't need a national cathedral. I mean, if religious organizations, churches, are minded to put up a cathedral and they request for land from government, the government offers it, and they are able to generate their resources to build it, all well and good. But I don't believe that we should put public funds into a national cathedral. There's a position that we canvass clearly. And President Mahama has stuck.
There used to be
position.
a national cathedral secretariat in this office.
It no longer exists.
So there's no national cathedral.
It no longer exists.
So who runs that big hole we have?
Nobody runs it. It is there. There are outstanding issues regarding procurement processes, outstanding payments that the contractor is demanding and all that. But nobody runs it because there's no national cathedral.
So for now, it remains
a worthless hole.
But that's your government. You're supposed to come and fix.
Yeah. So first of all,
Umaru, if it's a problem, do something about it.
At the last recording, they needed about $400 million to complete that project. Are you going to support a situation where $400 million is put into that project?
I remember the 3 questions I asked President Mahama before he became president. I said, would he cover it, would he continue it, or would he convert it? Would you then cover it? Because it's breeding mosquitoes.
So
then.
at the point,
is the rainy season is coming?
At the point, a determination will be made.
But it hasn't been made yet.
What is certain is that President Mahama is not going to put $400 million of taxpayers' money into that project.
So you can say to us on the record that this government would never
put public funds. Again, as I've said, if churches raise their money
and continue,
why not? I mean, it's okay. Maybe you can.
But it's government property. That is government property.
Well,
it's the money. Put a watchman
first of all, the money has been sunk into. It's been wasted, as far as I'm concerned, and there are outstanding procurement matters. And indeed, it is part of the matters that Oral is looking at.
Yes.
And indeed, there are people who have been questioned on that.
I'll ask you about Oral when we take a break. Now,
Yes.
I want something on asset declaration.
Sure.
The president gave you up to 31st March for everybody to declare their assets. What's the status of that?
Yes. As of yesterday, we received an update, and there's very, very high compliance. Everybody who was appointed at the time that the deadline was issued has done so. You appreciate that there are people who are appointed later. They have to be given time to go through it. But per the president's directives, those who were in office, who are taking office at the time, have complied. That's what I think that is one of the fastest levels of compliance that we've had in the asset declaration regime. So I think that deadline helped, yeah.
This is Face to Face on Channel 1 TV. In the office of the Honorable Felix Kwakye Ofosu, we are doing an interview. If you recall his 7-minute video, there was a mini excavator in the background. It's actually here on his shelf. I'll ask him, does it mean he has endorsed Galamsey? What's this government's fight against Galamsey going to look like? Please stay with us.
Curious about what's happening beyond your borders? Beyond Borders takes you there. Every Wednesday at 7 p.m., join Caleb Kuda as he explores the stories that shape our world, connecting you with Ghanaians in other cultures and seeing the world through their eyes.
So we've learned one thing: you leave your shoes outside. Wow.
Tuesdays,
Yeah.
you know, I won't go to Ghana dressed in a Lacoste. I
As
would
manager- as director of operations.
From international politics to the human stories that define nations, Beyond Borders brings you a fresh perspective of Ghanaians around the world, one conversation at a time. Beyond Borders with Caleb Kuda airs Wednesdays at 7 p.m. only on Channel 1 TV.
Yeah, welcome. This is Face to Face on Channel 1 TV. Honorable Felix Kwakye Ofosu, we at City FM started the campaign against Galamsey in 2017. Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo took it up and said he had put his presidency on the line. After 8 years, evidence shows he has failed. His government failed in fighting Galamsey. You said when you come, you're going to deal with it. You also appear to be pussyfooting.
Oh, no,
in
we are
the
not.
Fight against Galamsey.
We are not, indeed. I think
you're even changing the goalposts now.
No, not at all. I think last week, if I'm not mistaken, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources held a press briefing where he gave an update of what has happened. He spoke about the seizure of over 100 excavators and the arrest of about 76 people who are going through various legal processes with a view to prosecuting them and all that. So there's no relenting in the fight. It is a complex problem, we appreciate, but government has not relented. There's no reneging on the commitment we made to the people of Ghana. The president is clear that, indeed, the minister stated it in his press conference, that it is the policy of this government to view Galamsey as terrorism. And wherever terrorism exists, it must be fought rigorously. And that is what is happening. Have there been shortfalls? Of course. There are things that can be improved upon. And we take the public feedback. And going forward, we'll do what has to be done in order to ensure that we achieve the ultimate objective.
Your approach on dealing with foreigners in Galamsey, is that the government policy or was a personal view?
No, I think that's,
expressed by the
you
minister?
recall that when President Mahama was in power, there were thousands of Chinese people were deported. You see, at every point, as and when the cases emerge, you take a decision. I believe that if you get kingpins, people who are bankrolling it, who are the fulcrum around which the terrorist activity taking place against the environment is happening, you have to prosecute them, no matter their nationality. That is my position. I believe that's the position.
But the Minister for the Interior...
No, he has not said. I think that he needs to clarify what has happened. Indeed, I have engaged him, and he has explained that among other measures, you can look at deporting people as a way of getting them out of your jurisdiction so that they don't engage in that unlawful activity called Galamsey, in partnership, of course, with their host countries. You can reach agreements for their host countries to take action against them as a precondition for letting them go. But if there are specific individuals like Aisha Huang and Co, who are bankrolling and are the main source of the problem, I believe that they can be prosecuted here. But you look at the numbers. So if you have 200, 300, 400 people who are nationals of other countries engaged in this and they are arrested, can you let them leave the jurisdiction, having reached agreements with their host countries that they will take action against them and stop them from coming to your jurisdiction again? Or what do you do? So I think that we have to approach it on a case-by-case basis.
When Ghanaians go and commit a crime in other countries, do they not get prosecuted and jailed there? Why do we have to?
There are people who are being deported to Ghana from the US. Understand me? They think that they have broken US law, they are there unlawfully. They can be prosecuted, but the US government thinks the view that they should be brought back. I understand the point you're making. Reciprocity.
For the public backlash on the Aisha Huang deportation.
Yes, but see,
you shouldn't even dream of talking about deportation as a government.
Before Aisha Huang, under President Mahama, thousands of Chinese were deported. You notice that it did not generate such public uproar because people understood the circumstances. That you have 2,000-3,000 Chinese people. What do you do with them? Do you put them in your, prison system, or do you send them back so that you remove their existence of your country and therefore make it impossible for them to engage in Galamsey? Aisha Huang became a problem because of the extent of involvement.
But deportation doesn't sound punitive enough.
No, but the point is that, there are, for instance, we have said, for instance, that there are Ghanaians involved who are arrested and given harsh sentences, and then there are kingpins who are left alone. And that if you went for the kingpins, perhaps there will not even be an opportunity for the lower fishes to get involved in Galamsey. So I am saying that based on my interaction with the Interior Minister, I think that the point that he was trying to make is that we need to do a case-by-case study of the situation. If we get a certain number of people, what decision do we make? There are all manner of arrangements that we have with countries that we can ensure that they leave our jurisdiction so that the threat that they pose is eliminated. But I believe that there are specific instances that warrant serious prosecution because of the level of involvement and how integral they are to the terrorism that is taking place against the environment.
For fighting Galamsey, by which time we can say our water bodies are restored, Galamsey has ended?
First of all, I'm not sure that a timeline is necessarily the conversation we should be having. I think it should be a lifelong activity. The point is that we cannot guarantee that people will stop wanting to do Galamsey. Every time that somebody plans to do Galamsey and actually starts doing it, it is the duty of the state to fight it. So to the extent that humans are such that they will always want to go and do something contrary to the law, we must remain eternally vigilant. What matters is that people see demonstrable commitment to fighting it. So that today, if you are engaged in Galamsey or I'm engaged in Galamsey, we will be stopped by the government and action will be taken against it. I think that is what people want, rather than limiting yourself to say, in 2 months I will fight Galamsey. I'm not sure that that is the
Operation Recover All Loot was a campaign promise. As soon as the president was sworn in, he set up a committee which has been doing some work. How has that ended?
Yeah, as a principle, I can let you know that all the cases that were touched on under the oral committee's work are being investigated. All of them, there are about 280 of them that were submitted. Out of that, 65 people, as of last Friday, had either been arrested, interrogated, or granted bail. 65. And it's going to continue. As and when updates come, I'll let you know. And the document is here, the names, the specific cases that they are being
You know
held
some
for.
of the big names in there.
Oh, I think that people like Professor Amaye Kunfi, Joe Gatti, the people involved in the National Service scandal, and others are being looked into. So 65 people, as of last week Friday, have been invited, questioned, some of them granted bail. The Kwabena Edu Buahin case, perhaps the most prominent of all. And indeed, you recall that the Attorney General, when he gave that update a couple of weeks ago, indicated that in April he will start prosecution on some of the cases.
So we should be expecting the Attorney General in court very soon.
Just that the Attorney General wants to do a thorough job. Yes, it is true that people may have given information to the oral committee about what they perceive to be wrongdoing, but we need to look into it to make sure that indeed people have committed wrongs and that it's not just a mere misunderstanding. So that when you go to court, you can secure
Talking about
conviction.
court, the Chief Justice, are you out to remove her?
Not at all.
As a party?
No, I think we've said in the past, we've expressed our unhappiness.
You're using backdoor to remove her.
We've expressed our displeasure about what we perceive to be unfair treatment of the NDC. We've said that in the past. But it doesn't mean that because of that, you go and yank off a Chief Justice. Indeed, the Chief Justice, as I've had occasion to say before, is not at the beck and call of the President. She is the head of an independent constitutional body. And the processes for administering some punitive measure in the event that some wrongdoing is alleged against her are clearly spelled out in Article 1466 of the 1992 Constitution. The President has followed that provision in the Constitution to the letter. He is played by the book. He received the petition. The Constitution requires him to consult the Council of State to determine whether there is a basis to proceed. In other words, whether a prima facie case can be established, based upon which a committee will be formed. And that committee's composition is clearly spelled out in the Constitution. So when the President received the petition, he told the Council of State that this is what I have received. Here is it. Now, I want to seek your input into requesting the Chief Justice to respond to the claims made against her. Based on that, we will set the claims against her response and determine whether or not there's a basis to proceed at all. That is, whether the prima facie has been established. That is what the President did. Indeed, he wrote to the Chief Justice and gave him a copy of the petition. The Chief Justice, in fact, had earlier requested 7 days within which to present her responses. The President gave her 10 days. I can confirm that as of last week Friday, which was exactly 7 days since she was given the petition, she had responded. And the processes are ongoing. The consultation between the President and the Council of State are ongoing. And if and it's a big if. If it is found that there is basis to proceed, the president would abide.
Which is likely, right?
Well, I'm not in a position to tell. Indeed, as I sit here, I don't know the content of the petition as the Constitution dictates. The president has kept it close to his chest. There's a high level of confidentiality. I can assure you that nobody, apart from the president himself and perhaps his legal advisors, is privy to this petition. And nobody will know up until when the law mandates that it be made public. Yes.
Thank you so much for speaking to us.
The pleasure is all mine.
That's Felix Kwakye Ofosu. So we couldn't unfortunately speak about his constituency. He's MP for Abrase Bukwamankese and Minister of State in charge of Government Communication. I am Umaru Sandamadu. This has been Face to Face on Channel 1 TV. Thank you for watching.
Hello, my dear friend. I welcome you to Lifeline. I am always excited when you give us the opportunity to be in your homes, to be in your offices, and to connect with you.